working to connect a region of over 600 new bridges between our lands.
Hello and welcome to ASEAN in Focus. I'm Maricar Velasco, delivering to you the latest news in and around the ASEAN region. On today's headlines. The palace on Tuesday, the 20th, slammed the United Nations report that blamed President Rodrigo Duterte for the plight of rappers Maria Ressa, Senator Laila de Lima, and former Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno. Rice tariffication will be implemented by March 5 this year, since the issuance of its implementing rules and regulations. Wearing traditional dress, the children in Hanoi's only North Korean-founded kindergarten belt out Korean songs and recite their Korean vocabulary, skills they hope to show off to Kim Jong-un when he visits Vietnam next week. The palace on Tuesday, the 20th, slammed the United Nations report that blamed President Rodrigo Duterte for the plight of rappers Maria Ressa, Senator Laila de Lima, and former Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno. According to Panelo, the events that led to the present circumstances of these personalities are products of their own doing, which all took place prior to the assumption of President Rodrigo Roa Duterte to the presidential seat. Ressa, rapper, and its former reporter Reynaldo Santos Jr. are facing cyber libel charges filed by businessman Wilfredo Keng over a 2012 article that described him as controversial and with alleged links to human trafficking and illegal drugs. De Lima, on the other hand, was charged in connection with her alleged role in the illegal drug trading in the New Bilibid prison when she was Justice Secretary. Sereno was ousted via a quo warranto petition for her failure to submit her complete statements of assets, liabilities, and net worth before she was appointed Chief Justice. Panelo said the administration should not be blamed if it enforces the law more rigorously than its predecessors. The administration should likewise not be blamed if its critics have issues following the law. He said the fact that Senator De Lima, Attorney Sereno, and Ms. Ressa are critics of the administration is of no moment and absolutely unrelated to the criminal charges they are facing. In his report, UN Special Reporter Michael Forst said the plight of De Lima, Ressa, and Sereno was attributed to their being critics of the administration. Forst said in the Philippines, Senator Laila de Lima has been in detention since February 2017 for denouncing President Rodrigo Duterte's war on drugs. He said Sereno, on the other hand, objected to President Duterte's policies on drugs and martial law, after which he publicly pushed for her resignation. Forst also said that when she refused to resign, he pushed for her impeachment, even ordering Congress to remove her. He also added that the award-winning journalist Maria Ressa, Chief Executive Officer of the news website Rappler, has been indicted on tax evasion charges in what is considered political persecution in response to critical reporting on the government. President Duterte has signed into a law bill institutionalizing a national integrated program to control cancer, one of the leading causes of death in the Philippines. Duterte signed Republic Act No. 11215, now also known as the National Integrated Cancer Control Act, on February 14. The program also aims to lessen the incidence of preventable cancer, prevent cancer recurrences, provide timely access to optimal cancer treatment and care, make treatment affordable and accessible, and eliminate various forms of burden on patients and their families. Under the new law, the Department of Health is tasked to provide early and sufficient access to cancer medicines and ensure highest possible chance of survival among people with cancer. The DOH and local government units are expected to strengthen the capabilities of public health care systems and facilities in dealing with cancer. A Philippine Cancer Center and regional cancer centers will be established to strengthen the specialization and research on cancer treatment. The new law created the Cancer Assistance Fund, which will support the cancer medicine and assistant treatment program. The DOH is also mandated under the new law to provide subsidies and scholarships for the training of oncology professionals. U.S. President Donald Trump said Tuesday that while he hoped his next meeting with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un would yield much progress, he was also in, quote, no rush for results.
South Korea then think that
Trump said he would like to see ultimately denuclearization of North Korea. He said he thinks that North Korea and Chairman Kim have some very positive things in mind, adding that sanctions were continuing in the meantime.
China think that North Korea and Chairman Kim have a tremendous potential as an economic force, economic power. Their location between South Korea and then Russia and China, right smack in the middle, is phenomenal. And we think they have a great chance for tremendous economic prosperity in the future. So
After a landmark summit in Singapore last year, the mercurial U.S. and North Korean leaders produced a vaguely worded document in which Kim pledged to work toward the denuclearization of the North Korean peninsula. But progress has since stalled, with two sides disagreeing over what that means. Trump, who spoke on Tuesday with his South Korean counterpart Moon Jae-in, said he would do the same on Wednesday with Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. A State Department statement, meanwhile, said the U.S. Special Representative for North Korea, Stephen Biegun, was traveling to Hanoi in preparation for the summit. Kim Jong-un could travel overland for his summit in Hanoi with U.S. President Donald Trump, media have reported, after a North Korean delegation was spotted at key stops on a popular rail route from China. Washington and Pyongyang have dispatched several teams to Vietnam ahead of the summit in Hanoi on February 27 to 28, though officials have remained tight-lipped on their movements and meetings. On Tuesday, a Vietnamese source with knowledge of planning for high-level diplomatic meetings told media that several North Korean officials had visited the China border area on Monday. The source said, requesting anonymity, a team from North Korea was in Langsan City on Monday. They traveled there from Hanoi by car. Japan's Asahi TV reported that a North Korean team visited a rail station in a city near the China border and also surveyed road conditions in the area. There is no airport in Langsan City, prompting a swirl of speculation that Kim may make the long overland train or road journey from China to Vietnam. Next week's meeting follows a landmark summit between Trump and Kim in Singapore last June, the first for sitting leaders of the U.S. and North Korea who are technically still at war. Kim traveled to Singapore on a plane lent by Beijing for the land summit and normally moves in an armored train when he travels to Beijing. Mobs of stick-wielding church-goers in Myanmar's northeast used to descend on dealers and addicts in a desperate effort to save their communities from a meth-induced health crisis sweeping the country. However, anonymous death threats brought the vigilant operations to a halt. It simply became too dangerous for them, says Zhao Man, leader of the local Baptist church in Kutkai, a town in Shan State scarred by addiction. Myanmar is the second biggest producer of opium in the world after Afghanistan and is now believed to be the largest source of methamphetamine. The multi-billion-dollar industry outstrips rivals in Latin America to feed lucrative markets as far away as Sydney, Tokyo, and Seoul. Shan is the epicenter of production in Myanmar, with a network of local armed groups linking up with transnational trafficking gangs. Kutkai sits between Mandalay and the militia-riddled town of News on the China border, a key entry point for precursors chemicals heading to Myanmar's illegal meth labs. Trucks carrying illicit goods roar through the town in both directions past the Chinese temple and street-side restaurants with signs in Mandarin. Heroin and meth use here are rampant. Zauman says nearly every household has at least one drug user. Dealers work out in the open, and often violent meth addicts have turned parts of Kutkai into no-go zones.
Visiting the Philippines, Manila or Quezon City is a popular destination. But oftentimes the hustle and bustle of the city can be more stressful on your vacation. So when you feel the need to reconnect to nature or relax again, there's a beautiful oasis just outside of the city called the Garden at Ciudad de Victoria. That you can see here include hydrangea, snapdragon, and stargazers. They're truly beautiful. The gardens at Ciudad de Victoria are so peaceful, tranquil, and beautiful that it's become a haven for young couples and a very popular venue for engagement photos. The next time you want an escape from the big city, the garden at Ciudad de Victoria is a wonderful place to visit.
Welcome back. Rice tariffication will be implemented by March 5 this year, since the issuance of its implementing rules and regulations. Finance Secretary Carlos Dominguez III told reporters that there are parts of the law that are clear upfront and can be implemented earlier than the parts of the law that require an IRR to implement. He adds the heart of the reform, which tariffies rice importation with the least government intervention, will be implemented ASAP to bring down rice prices for more than 100 million Filipino rice consumers. President Duterte signed into law several measures last February 14, including the Rice Purification Bill, which is now known as Republic Act 11203 or the Rice Tariffication Act. Rice tariffication aims to bring down the cost of rice by allowing higher volume of importation, a change from the use of the minimum access volume. Under the newly signed law, tariff will be based on bound rates, which are 35% for all imports from the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, 40% for in quota or within MAV for non-ASEAN, and 180% for out quota and non-ASEAN or as calculated by the Tariff Commission.
Well, dati po kasi under the quantitative restriction regime ay yung mga may import license lang po na binibigay ng NFA ang maaring mag-angkat ng bigas. So now, under the tariffied regime, anybody who is able to secure a phytosanitary and sanitary permit, which essentially means wala pong sakit, walang peste yung kanilang ipinapasok na bigas, ay maaring mag-angkat ng bigas. Basta po babayaran nila yung karampatang buwis, no, the import tariff, which is set at 35% for ASEAN countries, any quantity. For the MAV, yung ating minimum access volume or our promise to the international community in terms of how much we will import. Kung nasa loob po ng MAV, yung importation, ay nasa 40% kung non-ASEAN country, yung tariff rate, at nasa 180% yung tariff rate kung sa lagpas po sa MAV. In effect, ang mangyayari po nito ay tatlong bagay. Una, bababa po ang presyo ng bigas sa ating mga retail markets from 2 to 7 pesos per kilo. Yan po ang estimate natin. Pangalawa, mayroon po tayong taripa na ikokolekta. Ang estimate po natin dyan ay 7 to 11 billion pesos in the first year for a full year implementation. Ngayon, regardless of how much we collect, 10 billion pesos has been earmarked by the rice tariffication law para po sa enhanced productivity and the competitiveness of our rice farmers. So 50% of 10 billion for mechanization, several billion for rice seeds na mas malago, ang ani, more resilient to climate change, more resilient to pests and disease. At saka meron po tayong credit facility with very low interest rates to be implemented by Land Bank and DBP, at iba pa pong mga training programs at extension support services. So ang full 10 billion is the minimum that has been earmarked for our rice farmers for at least the next 6 years. And then Congress will review the program kung i-extend, i-expand, o kung ano po ang decision nila after 6 years. The third thing that we will gain is lower inflation rate. Dahil po ang estimate ng Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas ay with a full year of tariffication, bababa po ang ating inflation rate by 0.6 percentage points, which brings us within the target inflation range of 2 to 4% by 2019. In fact, the latest point estimate of BSP is 3.2% for 2019.
Senator Sherwin Gatchalian on Tuesday expressed his gratitude to President Rodrigo Duterte for signing into law a measure allowing mobile phone users to retain their numbers for life even when they switch service providers.
For the public.
Duterte signed the Mobile Number Portability Act or Republic Act number 11202 on February 14. The senator said the signing of the new law before the start of the third telco's operations will spur competition and break the duopoly in the telecom industry by removing a potential barrier for subscribers not to patronize the new entrant because they cannot keep the same mobile number. Under the new law, subscribers can shift from one network to another without changing the number free of charge. The gross revenues of the Clark International Airport Corporation, or CIAC, reached an unprecedented 1.07 billion pesos in 2018, an official of the government-run corporation said Tuesday. Jaime Alberto Melo, CIAC president, said this is the first time that CIAC was able to reach the 1 billion peso mark since the agency was created in 1995. Melo said numbers of airlines, flights, destinations, and business activities increased ever since President Rodrigo Duterte called for greater utilization of the Clark Airport. The marketability of Clark Airport and the civil aviation complex were keys to achieving this milestone. Melo said revenues increased by 32%, or the equivalent of 257.43 million pesos from last year's 814.12 million pesos, while CIAC's net income also posted an unprecedented growth of 80%, or about 141.94 million pesos. The revenue was derived from aeronautical and non-aeronautical operations at the Clark Airport that contributed 53% and 43% respectively. The CIAC chief said these record-breaking figures are attributed to the Duterte administration's full support, citing Transportation Secretary Arthur Tugade, whose agency oversees the airport's operation, and CIAC's parent company, the Bases Conversion and Development Authority, headed by its president, Vivencio Dizon. The gross revenues of the Clark International Airport Corporation, or CIAC, reached an unprecedented 1.07 billion pesos in 2018, an official of the government-run corporation said Tuesday.
Your ABC Las Vegas correspondent, reminding you that we should view every day as a new day. We should not let the troubles of the past hinder us in moving forward in life. And don't forget to watch Digital Nest on Tuesday and Thursday at 7:30 p.m. only on Net 25. Again, I am Nicole Tongo and I am one with 25.
Welcome back. Myanmar's famed Inle Lake has enchanted tourists for decades with its floating gardens and the graceful leg rowing style of its fishermen, but experts warn the lake is drying up and urgent action is needed to avoid disaster. Each year, around 200,000 foreigners and 1 million locals visit Inle, a vast serene body of water surrounded by verdant hills. Many crisscross the lake on small wooden boats to visit stilted villages of the Intha ethnic minority. Others glide soundlessly overhead in hot air balloons as farmers tend to drifting fields of tomatoes below grow on the water on layers of decomposing vegetation. Fishermen elegantly propel their boats with their leg curled round a large oar. But there is a darker side to the seemingly bucolic idyll that says Martin McCullon, a researcher into the impact of development on the lake. As farmers race to produce higher yields, pesticides and fertilizers are slowly poisoning the water. Inle is also shrinking at an alarming rate. Mike Lon explains that 1 century ago it was 6 meters or nearly 20 feet deep in rainy season. Now it is never more than 3 meters deep. Deforestation to clear land for development and smash and burn farming is thought to be largely to blame, with silt flowing into the lake from surrounding hillsides. However, water extraction for irrigation and increased numbers of tourists could also be putting undue strain on the water table. If conditions at the lake deteriorate, then tourism, the area's most powerful economic driver, will also likely be affected. Wearing traditional dress, the children in Hanoi's only North Korean-founded kindergarten belt out Korean songs and recite their Korean vocabulary, skills they hope to show off to Kim Jong-un when he visits Vietnam next week. Take a look.
Từ khi thành lập trường đến nay thì trường Mẫu giáo Việt Triều hữu nghị là biểu tượng của tình hữu nghị giữa chính phủ, Đảng, chính phủ và nhân dân hai nước, Cộng hòa Dân chủ Nhân dân Triều Tiên và Việt Nam. Tết vừa rồi là rất mong muốn được đón tiếp nhà lãnh đạo Kim Jong Un, ông của nhà lãnh đạo vĩ đại của nhân dân Triều Tiên đến thăm Việt Nam và sẽ thăm trường Mẫu giáo Việt Triều. Chúng tôi cũng đã đề xuất nguyện vọng.
And that is the latest news in the Southeast Asian nations. Stay updated about the ASEAN region. I'm Maricar Velasco and I am 1 with 25.
Ang susunod na programa ay rated PG. Ito ay nangangailangan ng patnubay at gabay ng magulang para sa mga batang manonood.
Munti at